I'm sure I did, but I don't remember what it said. Okay. Oh, yes, where he got struck by lightning. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And how you doing?
Yeah. Honey, I gotta go. I'm on a Zoom call. Okay, love you. All righty. Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's get everything started. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Fine.
Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. Hopefully you're having a good week. Hopefully it'll be a good weekend. We have a really good lineup for you. Enough here. Okay. Been some weird times going on around. I mean, between the war in Russia and gas prices and pandemic. I think my card is full. I think I'm ready. We can stop adding stuff to my list. I'm good. I'm really
Enough.
the show here. We do this every 2 weeks. We are basically trying to give the comics a platform. Most things are opening up, but we're still not seeing. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but like in our area, not all the venues have opened back up. So there's not as many places to go, which is a shame. But there's also a lot of people who can't make it too. So we're gonna keep doing this as long as we have audience, as long as we have comics that want to do. We'll keep doing the virtual shows. And it is nice to be able to just stay at home and not have to go out somewhere to a bar with crowded people. And it's really joy. But if you do like the show, please pass along to friends about it. Join us on Button Down Comedy on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us there. If you like some of the comics, follow them as well. We've also set up 2 ways that you can send money if you want to help the comics, because this is the way a lot of people make their living, and they have been able to for most of the last 2 years. So if you feel the urge to send a little bit, please do. We have paypal.me/BD comedy. We also have on Cash App $ Button Down Comedy. So I'll put that in the chat in a little bit. So feel free to do that if you like, and don't feel obligated if you don't feel like it. That's fine too. The comics just love to hear you laugh. Please, if you don't have background noise going on, please unmute your mics. We would love to hear you laugh. If you're comfortable, open up your camera too, because we would love to see that as well. All right, well, we got all the administrative work out of the way. Let's get to some funny things. At least I think they're funny. I've noticed it. I had a girlfriend had nicknames for me. That was her Energizer Bunny. That every time we got into bed, she thought of AAA. That's a good rating, isn't it? AAA rating. That's good. She said she wanted fairy tale related, and I wasn't quite sure what she meant till I came home and found 7 short guys in the bedroom. Really, really did. And then I also had a girlfriend who hated it when I used the N-word. I had to say yes to everything. And then I dated this one girl for a while. She had this issue where she had to have her food separate. Everything had to be not touching. And I asked her, I said, what about like stir fry? It's all mixed together. She says, it's fine as long as it comes out that way. So I have to put the whipped cream on before I go into the bedroom. She had a dog, didn't like me too well. It was a mixed breed. It was a cock blocker. But it like cream. I remember, I really like that dog. Actually, more than the girl. They did a much better job. Okay, that got a little dark. A little more cheerful, a little more upbeat. Dick jokes. It's a short bit. It won't last long. It's not hard. But comedy is filled with dick jokes. But doesn't have a lot of ball jokes. Balls respect. I mean, they have a legitimate gripe. They're there hanging out with the guys. This girl walks right by them to that tall, skinny prick every damn time. And does that prick bother to introduce us to the girl? No. Half the time he puts us aside and introduces her to some asshole. And there we are. Here we are carrying his stuff. And what does he do? He just leaves it in random socks.
Oh man.
I do like science fiction, and I've noticed that science fiction movies, they love to have that zero gravity sex. I'm sorry, but ladies, we need a little traction. We need something to push off. In zero gravity, it's something to push off. I'm pretty sure it's like having sex in bouncy house. And have you ever looked at the beach? You really want that shit floating around? And can you imagine the cleanup? Oh, there's some up there and some up there. Do you have any Disney fans in the audience? Round of applause. You like Disney? I don't get Disney. I mean, they give us cookies shaped like Goofy, candies shaped like Daisy Duck, waffles shaped like Mickey, and they kick me out when I'm eating Minnie. Okay, maybe it was the rotisserie and the fava beans. I like that joke. It's a cannibal joke and a pervert joke all in one. I've noticed the GOP is up in arms again. Apparently, the fact that M&Ms have desexualized the green and brown M&M has Tucker Carlson up in arms. My question: does he still get a hard-on for the orange M&M? Well, at this night time, I'm going to bring up to our first comedian of the night. I met this gentleman on Zoom over the last 2 years. We've seen each other online numerous times. One day I hope to meet him in person, but until then, we get to meet on Zoom. He refers to himself as a smart guy trapped in a fat guy's body. So I hope you've brought an extra pair of undies because you might just wet yourself. Please give a big round of applause for Chipp Jones.
Yay! Yay! Thank you, Geo. Tucker Carlson never got a hard on for the orange M&M. He got a hard on for the orange ex-president, but never the orange M&M. So I'm glad to be here. Pandemic is waning down, which is great. It did, though, when we had to shut down, it gave me an opportunity to work on me, as a person, because like most comedians, I found out that I had issues. It turned out I had terrible road rage. I found out one day when a bird pooped on my windshield, and I followed him back to his nest and peed in it. Not a good look. Yeah. Luckily, the lady who was watching me out of her second-story window called a couple of cops to help me down out of that tree. So, yeah, when you're in rage, you can scamper up a tree like a squirrel, but coming down's altogether different. Coming down, you're a sex offender. At least that's what the judge called me. So now that I've informed you guys, I can move on. So you may notice from my gray hair, I'm probably the oldest comedian on this evening. I am at that age that if I am up after midnight, 50% of the time it's because I have to go to the bathroom. And the other 50% is because I got to go again. I mean, it's just tough. I'm jealous of the young guys. The young guys who have that powerful, steady stream when they go. They're like the little firemen with their fire hoses just blasting away. Yeah, if I'm your fireman, your house is burning to the ground. When I go, it's more like a ketchup pump at McDonald's, sort of squirt, squirt, squirt. And I'll be honest with you, it takes so long. I usually sit when I pee, which can be awkward at a urinal. I'll be honest, but you do get good eye contact with the guy next to you, so that's pretty cool. And my doctor now, he books me for 2 appointments if I have to pee in a cup, which I think is rude. I think it's just rude. But getting old, man, it's not for sissies. I'll tell you that. I got that issue of hair growing in weird places, tops of my ears. A couple of weeks ago, I had this long strand growing out of my ear. I went to pull on it and my leg went up. I was like, wait a minute. I said, maybe I should just tie this one off just in case. Sometimes I have to shave the knuckles of my toes to get my feet in my shoes. I mean, it's almost like I'm not getting old, but I'm turning into a hobbit. I'm going to be looking for a quest sometime soon. But you can't see from the way I'm seated, but I do have long dreadlocks. I'll show those to you. Yeah, it's funny because when people see these, they automatically assume that I smoke and sell weed. And I just want to let you guys know I don't smoke weed. So, anybody need a baggie? We can talk later. You know, I'm just kidding. I don't sell weed either because you can't sell drugs if you can't master the metric system. So, yeah, I remember a couple years ago, I tried to make pot brownies for some friends, and you would not believe how hard it is to buy 2 cups of weed. You just can't do it. You can't do it. So, like many African Americans, I also suffer from big bones. It's compounded by the fact that I'm fat. I tried running, but I found I could only run if there's a Popeyes at the end of it. So I'm no longer a runner. I don't know. Did you ever go to a McDonald's and order so much food that you bought a second soda simply because you didn't want the people behind the counter to know you're going to eat all that yourself? Yeah. Am I the only one who does that? Okay. I guess what I need is I need a gym for fat guys, you know, something designed for us. You know, one that's got like a 14-foot rope climb to a bucket of chicken. Or maybe every treadmill has a full Thanksgiving dinner at the end of it that you just can't quite reach, you know? And at the end, if you want ice cream, they actually take you outside and make you chase down the ice cream truck. I need incentive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But where was I? Oh, being old, I tell you. I've gotten into the old guy stuff now. I've been watching old TV shows that I used to watch as a kid. Really got hung up on Westerns again. I don't know if you ever saw the show Bonanza, this old Western Bonanza. It's interesting. How do I explain this? This way, when I was a kid, my friends and I used to make up lyrics to TV themes that were instrumentals. And the one I made up for Bonanza was this. Why are there no women on Bonanza? Why are there no women on Bonanza? Little Joe, here comes little Joe. Why are there no women on Bonanza? Because they all die. Yeah. I don't know if you watched this show, but on this show, if there's ever a young ingenue who could be a love interest for one of the sons or the father, you know she's going to be dead by the end of the hour. I mean, it's just guaranteed. You know, the father on this show has put 3 wives in the grave, and that's how he has 3 sons. I mean, could you do a show like that in Me Too now? I don't know if you can get away with that. I kept thinking they needed a crossover with this show and Murder, She Wrote. Somebody needs to find out what actually happened to these women, you know? So, but it's nice getting back to the old TV because I'm old enough to remember when TV was in black and white. And by that, it was mostly white with just a little bit of black, you know? But then we got Technicolor, which I think stood for technically you could have one person of color on your show. And that's when I became a fan of Star Trek, you know, with the Nichelle Nichols, the beautiful black Uhura. But you know, when I think about it, it wasn't really moving the race forward because she was basically a secretary in space answering the phone. For me, we got some credence when we got to Star Trek: The Next Generation. Because on that show, we had the chief engineer, Geordie LaForge, who was a blind black guy. And everybody thought he was a genius, and he didn't sing or play piano at all. I said, yeah, we're moving the race forward here. So, oh man. As they say, this racism is killing me. I don't know. We're still dealing with this January 6th, over a year away, still talking about this stuff, looking back. And I live in DC, so this is in my backyard. In fact, I have a conservative white neighbor who was down there that day. He didn't actually attack the Capitol, but he was at that Trump rally beforehand. And I just had to tell him, I said, those Trump rallies are racist. And he said, no, they're not. He goes, I was down there and there were a lot of black people at that rally. And I thought for a minute, yeah, I could understand that, because I know if I went to a Trump rally and there was one black person, I'd be like, man, there are a lot of black people at this Trump rally. I think it's the only time where a conservative white guy and a black guy agreed what a lot of black people were. It was one, Usually when a conservative white person says they have a lot of black friends, that's what they mean. They've got one, So I don't know. So we're in March now, which is interesting because we've transitioned out of Black History Month, which was February, which I never understood why we got February, because it seems like if you're going to do Black History, it should actually be in March. I mean, that's all we ever did was March on Washington, March on Selma. We got March to the Paddy Wagon. It's like March should be our month, But I don't know. I'm also kind of fearful now, because we got this new national holiday coming up in June, Juneteenth. They've now made the commemoration of the slaves in Texas finding out after 2 years that they were actually free into a holiday. I'm not sure if I'm down with that, because the way America is. I could see on Juneteenth turning on the radio and hearing, swing low, sweet chariot. You need a chariot? Come on down to Coons Ford. We'll get you in a Tahoe today. Still haven't got that reparations check. We got 0% financing. Come on in, Or maybe turning on the radio and hearing, I'm going to lay down my burden on this sleepy memory foam mattress. Come on into our Juneteenth celebration. Everything 3/5 the price. And I know some people will groan at that, but 3/5 the price means 40% off. So you're going to that sale. Don't even try it. Maybe that's the way we attack racism, is through finances. What if on MLK Day, everything was 50% off? Or during Black History Month, Walmart had 60% off everything they sold. Then we would have our white allies telling the police, don't kill that black guy. You might cut into our discount, But the thing that worries me the most is now that it's a holiday, that Hallmark's going to start making cards, right? I can see my white friends and coworkers sending me these crazy cards. Like I get a card that says, hey, I'm sorry about slavery. Open it up. It wasn't cotton picking Shane. What? What? Walking into my office, there's a card on my desk that says, hey, it's been over 140 years since we had slavery. Open it up. Isn't that all just watermelon under the bridge? The worst thing is it's signed by Debbie and the girls in HR. It's like, who do I complain to now? Or maybe somebody will go high tech, send me one of those personalized record your own message card. In front of it says, are you still mad about slavery? I open the card up and it just screams, nigga, please, nigga, please, nigga, please. Now I'm stabbing everybody at my job. It's like, oh man, what to do? But yeah, racism is still an issue, In fact, I was in downtown DC not too long ago, and there was this little 6-year-old girl in front of me, and a little white girl. She looked back and she saw me, and she immediately took her Barbie purse. she moved it to the other side of her body and she clutched it really tight. And I got to tell you, it made me a little sad. I think mainly because it meant I had to knock her to the ground to snatch it. It's like, yeah, this racism isn't working out for either one of us. So I don't know. But on the lighter side, though, I am seeing some movement. Marvel has been darkening up some of the heroes. I don't know if you noticed this. We got a black Captain America. We got a black Spider-Man. So that's looking pretty cool. I think the one Marvel character that would never be black, though, was the Incredible Hulk. Because he would never be the Black Bruce Banner. He would always be enraged. Followed around in a department store. Pulled over by the cops. Final notice on that electric bill. So he would be nothing but the Black Hulk. We would never have the regular guy. So, but what can I tell you about me? I have been married for 30 years. You guys should give it up for my wife, because she's the one that made that happen. And when our 30th anniversary came up, I did the due diligence. I went on the websites and looked, what's the proper gift for a 30th anniversary? I don't know if you know this, but it's pearl. Pearl is the gift for the 30th anniversary. But I went to my bank website and it said back rub. Back rub is the perfect gift for the 30th anniversary. So my wife got a back rub and a nice card from Wells Fargo. That's the way it's going on at my house. My wife is actually the one who got me into comedy. She got me a comedy class when we were going through a difficult time when she was being diagnosed for a brain tumor back in 2009. And it was interesting because she started having these things called olfactory hallucinations. They're basically little seizures that cause you to smell things that are not there. And it's funny the way the body works because the smells are always horrible. In fact, the top three smells are burning rubber, the smell of hot garbage, and the smell of decomposing bodies.
Ew.
And I always thought, like, if you know the smell of a decomposing body, I think we have other issues to deal with you. Somebody should be checking your basement. It's like, there's a problem there. But she got an MRI and it turned out that there was something there. And so our general practitioner moved us on to a neurologist and a neurosurgeon. And it was kind of weird, because he was very young. I mean, I didn't really mind that he was young. What sort of ticked me off is that he wouldn't look up from his Game Boy as he was talking to us. It was like, this could be a problem, So they ran a whole bunch of tests, and it was kind of like House, they're throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. At one point, they thought she had a parasite. Because we had been down in Mexico, so they thought she had this thing called cystosarcoma, which is a little parasite that can make its way up into your brain. And that was an odd one because a parasite, that's like something that can be transmitted, And I'd seen the Twilight Zone and I'd seen the Wrath of Khan, so I was familiar with stuff, crawling in and out of people's ears. So my wife was like, why are you going to bed with headphones on? I listen to some music, And I was worried of sort of direct contact with any of her orifices. So when she would ask me, like, do you love me? Give me a kiss. I'm like, sure, I love you. What do you say we shake on it? It's like, but that turned out not to be the case. No parasite, but she did have a tumor, and we wound up having surgery. And I was in the recovery room when she woke up. And it was at that moment that I realized that men and women are different. Because the first thing my wife asked me when she woke up, she looked up and she said, how do I look? I was like, what? She said, how do I look? And I'm like, honey, you look fine. when I'm looking down at her and she's got this gaping wound and this red brownish, sauce all over her head and stuff. And I'm like, no, honey, you look great. But at the same time, I'm sort of looking out the window to see if there are people gathering with pitchforks and torches. I mean, it's like, I mean, the only thing that was missing from this picture were like bolts hanging out of her neck, And it's also weird too when you have sort of major surgery like that, because they're always keeping up you on recovery. Nurses are coming in every hour. You never get to sleep at all. And since it was something that had to do with neurology, the nurse would come in and she would go, raise your right arm, raise your left arm, raise your left leg, raise your right leg. What day is it? It's Saturday, Who's the president? Obama. Like I said, this is back in 2009. So hour after hour after hour, they would come in and do this. I mean, it got to the point that when my wife saw a nurse, she would just start shaking her arms and legs and saying, Saturday, the black guy, Saturday, the black guy, it's like, but we made the transition to a regular room. They were having problems keeping up on her pain meds because my wife had a misspent youth. She'd spend a lot of time doing recreational drugs. So they were hard pressed to find something to manage her pain. In fact, the doctor once said, maybe we should just do a transfusion of one of the Rolling Stones' bloods or something. So I guess in closing, what I want to tell you guys is say no to drugs and tell your kids to say no to drugs, because someday you may actually need them. So, I'm Chipp from DC. I thank you for listening, and I think that's my time. I'll hand it back over to Geo.
Let's keep it going for Chipp.
Yeah.
Had some guy asked me as I was at the urinal if I've taken Jesus Christ as my personal savior. It's like, this is really the time to. All right, so our next comedian doing comedy, I've known him now for coming up on 2 years, I think. He's been doing stand-up years all around the Chicago area. Now you can see him all kind of virtual shows just like this. Please give a big round of applause to Michael Cooper.
Hey folks, I'm doing good. I hope y'all are doing good. Just want to get something out of the way real quick. I'm aware that when I talk, I sound like the bad guy in all the historically accurate movies. That's actually a hereditary thing. It's a hereditary illness. There's a genetic component. It comes from being descended from the bad guys in all the historically accurate movies. As somebody who did grow up in the Deep South in a Christian evangelical community, you know what I really don't like is the number of people in my personal circle who believe in God, but don't believe in my comedy career. Like, are you kidding me? You can stare at the eastern sky for 20 years straight, waiting for Christ to split it in two upon his return. You can sing the same 3 songs every Sunday at 11 a.m. You can't watch a 5-minute YouTube clip. I mean, not to be arrogant, but already so far, there's more evidence of me being funny than there is of God. Y'all been watching for a minute and a half. I did go through a okay. This might surprise y'all to look at me, but I'm the type of person that's had a lot of bad jobs. A lot of really bad jobs. The worst one was I used to deliver pizza on a bicycle, mostly to college students. I don't know if y'all know this about 19-year-olds whose parents have 40 grand a year to send them to DePaul University to study music theory. But when they see a 32-year-old dude pulling up on a bicycle at 2 o'clock in the morning, they can be a little disrespectful. So you know what I would do? I would just ask them what they were studying. Then no matter what, I told them I studied the same thing. You haven't lived till you watched a 19-year-old ruin their life because you told one lie. What's that? Biomechanical engineering? Well, shit fire, son. Me too. Is it weird that I called my customer son? Maybe a little. But if my parents taught me one thing, said if you want to mess up someone's life, you owe it to them to call them son first. It's an obligation you have. That experience did, make me really dislike libertarians in particular, mostly because they think it's great to tell their delivery person how much of a libertarian they are. And the logic is never good. You ever notice these people are all about small government and keeping Big Brother out of our business? But then when you turn them upside down and shake them and bash them upside the head a half a dozen times to get your 20% tip out of them that they didn't give you, suddenly it's time for fairness and government intervention. Why is it when Jeff Bezos does it, it's the invisible hand of the market? When I do it, it's advisable to seek legal counsel. And I'm no longer welcome in Rand Paul's neighborhood. So I told him, Michael, it sounds like you just hate all entrepreneurs. It sounds like you just hate all the entrepreneurs. And that's not true. There's some I think have done some really great stuff. For instance, y'all know on them golf courses where those rich folks like to hang out? Whichever entrepreneur it was that came up with the cost-cutting mechanism of not removing the alligators from there, I can give them a tax cut. Fuck it. We get it, Michael. You're like a communist from the Deep South. You don't have to be mean about it. I don't know if you've been to the Deep South, but if you're a communist down there, you have to be mean about it. You can't halfway commie down there. I do think I like to start sentences with the words "as a communist." That's because I'm insufferable. And I do think, like, as a communist, I think the reason a lot of Americans hate communism so much, it's the same reason I hate NFTs. I don't know what they are, but I do know I don't like the person explaining it to me. For those of y'all on mute, you should know that in the absence of your feedback, I'm going hard on the rich people. I got to get some presumed silence from you in order to change directions. I hate getting pulled over. Who likes getting pulled over? Nobody. I'm aware that I have some privilege there, but what I don't have is common sense. So basically, I've gotten to the point where if I get pulled over, I just don't answer any questions at all. Do you? I mean, someone told me that I was being rude. Like, Michael, that's rude. They ask how you're doing and you say you don't answer questions. That's rude. Well, but you can't lie to the cops. And you certainly can't tell them the truth. Mr. Cooper, do you know why I'm pulling you over today? Off the top of my head, you're upset about that third divorce taking so long. Mr. Cooper, we have some questions for you. I know what you're going to ask, officer, and I can explain. It's not a simple matter of finding the clitoris. You also have to utilize the clitoris in a manner consistent with your fourth fiance's preferences. I had a friend with me once. He pointed at her. He goes, "Is this your girlfriend?" "No, sir. Feel free to divorce her too." I'm a sober alcoholic, and I got in the habit of mentioning that during shows because a lot of times, live shows especially, people want to be nice. And if I have a good set, people want to be kind. They'll say, hey, you're real funny, man. Do you want a beer? And I just don't want to keep responding the way I've always responded, which is, of course I want a beer. And then stomping away angrily without giving them context. Get back to my bread and butter here. If you've been poor your whole life like I have, you shouldn't fuck rich people. There's no advantage. Why should they get to come and retire at a reasonable age? If I have to choose between food and healthcare, you have to choose between exploring your kinks with me and denying me food and healthcare. Also, look at them. Ew! Who is looking at Bill Gates and thinking, yeah, bet that guy's a giving lover? Do you know how bad you have to be in bed to be a billionaire and have somebody risk that by divorcing you? You have to be at least Officer Kenny Johnson in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, bad in bed for that. I just think we need some simple rules. Okay? You're not going to raise the minimum wage. You can get minimally laid. No Medicare for all. No orgasms for all. And besides, what good's going to come of it? Like, you ever get head from a rich person? Nope. If you did, I bet you it was weird. And it's not their fault. They're just out of practice. It's just a historical fact. All right. Last rich person that gave head, Marie Antoinette. I did that joke and this large group of people shouted out, ooh, necrophilia. And I was like, that's weird that y'all all thought that word at the same time. That's so many syllables for groupthink. And I hope nobody, interprets that as a cheap necrophilia joke. But if they do, there's not really any harm, You can always joke about necrophilia. Nobody in the audience is going to be like, I was a victim of necrophilia. Yeah. This might surprise y'all. I've been broken up with a lot. I am polyamorous. One of the nice things with that is I have found that I used to have like really big confidence issues. Like if I was with a woman, I thought she was the only woman who could love me. And now that I'm polyamorous and dating multiple people, I've learned that I have all the qualities women look for in a second option. When I tell people I'm polyamorous, a lot of them have questions. Like I had questions when I was monogamous. I had questions like, hey, honey, who's that guy? That breakup was mutual. I agreed to it. She agreed to it. Some guy named Nick agreed to it. I was late for that meeting. Turned out they had early voted. Last time we hooked up, my friends got mad at me. They're like, Michael, stop hooking up with your ex. Stop hooking up with your ex-girlfriend. She cheated on you. And that's good advice. But, it's like they say, you can lead a horse to water. You can't stop a horse from fucking its ex-girlfriend. Trust me on that. That's how I lost these teeth. They do not slow down. To be fair to me, the last time we hooked up was an emergency. She was horny and she was about to go on a road trip to Indiana. I just don't think anybody should have to be horny in Indiana. That's how we got Mike Pence. Hey, y'all think Christians in Flint, Michigan are still doing baptisms? I don't know how much time I have left. Not in the set. I assume that I'll get a light. What I mean is I have an anger management issue and I don't take very good care of myself. I'm aging like, okay, if I shouldn't have gray hairs, but I do. I am 35 with gray hairs. Okay. If my other hairs were humans and my gray hairs were humans, people would be real suspicious of those gray hairs hanging out with those young humans. You know, gray hairs might be looking at some charges. My brother's actually a cop back home in Alabama. I know, depending on your life experiences, that sentence can make the room feel a little weird. To be fair to him, he was going to come here to Chicago to do it, but they wouldn't hire him. They said he didn't have enough video editing experience. I do want to explain some of my communists and my hatred of rich people with an anecdote from my childhood, a topic which if by now you're not curious about, you weren't listening. My dad used to take us fishing every Sunday and I loved it. One Sunday I got really upset, and I got upset because I could hear the fish flopping around in the trunk. And that's not a good feeling to hear them back there in the ice chest, clinging to life. Very upsetting when you're a child. My father could have explained it a lot of ways. He could have said, son, our world does not have an infinite amount of resources. And due to socioeconomics beyond our control, we cannot afford to sustain a lifestyle of vegetarianism or veganism where we do not harm a living being. Anytime a human consumes meat, we cause this harm. And we can't afford not to as a family. So this is our best bet at surviving. But that's a lot to explain to an 8-year-old. Like, if someone still thinks wrestling is real, you're not going to explain that to them. So he said to me, he said, son, it's okay. He told a little lie, a little white lie, you know. He said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Fish don't have pain nerves. So if anything I said was too far, just remember, rich people don't have pain nerves. So no matter how much you hear them flopping around in the trunk while you're taking them home to eat them, those are just reflexes. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. R.I.P. Jeff Bezos. I don't know if y'all saw the news a couple hours ago. Just kidding, but if you weren't excited about it, you probably didn't laugh during my set. I gotta go listen to Freebird while I cut myself for a little bit. Thank y'all so much.
Let's keep it going. Michael, you gotta admire a guy that makes his pay $24 for a can of Lysol just so he can fly a penis into space. So our headliner tonight, I actually not met before tonight, but if he's half as fun as it was in the green room before we started, you guys are going to have a blast. He basically refers himself as the old soul of comedy. Please give it up for GD Ferguson.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me here, Geo and Mike and Chipp. Thank you. And
Are you going down?
like I said, I'm GD Fenderson. I'm a professional comedian on paper for taxes. A professional is from the Latin, profess to proclaim out loud, and Chanel as in Chanel, I ain't got any money. I just told you I'm a professional comedian. So let's give it up for March being the Women's Month. Yeah. And let's give it up for doing it all wrong. We're doing it all wrong. Nobody needs a whole month. We don't need to give women a whole month. We don't give anybody a whole month. It never works out very well. You get tired of celebrating by the end of the month. But what does work is drinking holidays. Have you noticed that most of our popular ethnic holidays are drinking holidays? Yeah, St. Patrick's Day for the Irish, and on that day, everybody's a little bit Irish. You have Cinco de Mayo for Mexicans, Latinos, Latinas, Latin, Latinx. And on that day, everybody's a little bit Hispanic. You have July 4th for white men. Have to say it that way because we weren't free on July 4th. And on that day, everybody's a little bit white, some by force. Now, but the reason why they work is because they have sponsorship. And we, well, the reason why Juneteenth is not recognized as a national holiday is because of sponsorship. All those other holidays, they have sponsors, they have alcohol. St. Patrick's Day has, let me see, Jameson, Killian, Bailey's. I don't know if I'm missing any other Irish drinks. The Cinco de Mayo, they have tequila and Cuervo, Dos Equis. And I'm probably missing a few drinks for that also. July 4th has Wild Turkey, fireworks, and Care First as sponsors. Because nothing says freedom. Nothing says freedom like alcohol, explosions, and first aid. Woo! Wow! So for Juneteenth to become a successful national holiday, it needs sponsors. Which is why February did not work for Black History Month. I know we had the whole month, but you get tired of it by the end of the month. And it's the same old thing, and it's gotten too commercial, but you get tired of the lessons, and instead of lessons, and the lessons don't make sense anymore. So you start seeing things like commercials for things that they're just regular commercials. They're just trying to make it Blackish. So you see a commercial for Trojans, but it's the Wilt Chamberlain condom. Or you see commercials for vibrators, big vibrators, and they call them the Magic Johnson dildos. Or something as simple as shoe polish. You see commercials for shoe polish, but to make it Blackish, they call it the Rachel Dolezal Homegirl Home Kit. So in order for Juneteenth to be successful, it needs sponsors. And I'm thinking Crown Royal, Hennessy, Cristal, Colt 45 maybe, and lotion. Got to have lotion as a sponsor. Let's face it, we get ashy. People may not want to talk about it, but we get ashy. So you got to have lotion as one of the sponsors. Now, for March, well, for Women's Month, we can get rid of that. What we can do for Women's Month is to give them one day, one drinking holiday, and that holiday should, well, as my wife should put it, their holiday is the day they get divorced. But not all women get divorced on that same day. Not all women get divorced on the same day. So what we do is we celebrate their freedom on the same day like we do President's Day. We have one day for all the presidents, or for Veterans Day, we have one day for all of the veterans. And Labor Day, which is one day, and we celebrate all of the babies that were born. So for Women's Day, let me see, you need to pick a date and a drink. So that day would be probably the day before March Madness begins, because most women are going to be ignored for the next 2 weeks anyway. And if your man has a really good bracket, you could be gone for 2 weeks before he even notices you're missing. And for the drink, well, there'd be sangria, margaritas, mixed drinks, just no cosmopolitan. Avoid those. Now, as long as we're talking about women and Women's Month, I think women should be head coaches in football. And the reason why I said it is because most kids, when they learn to play football, it's the moms that take them to practice and pick them up from practice. It's the moms that are are cleaning their uniforms. It's the moms that are making them go through their playbooks. And it's the moms that are making sure they get the good steroids and not ivermectin. So, and women should be head coaches because you think about it, you have a 250-pound running back, and he's trying to drive up the middle to get good penetration to get a first down. Well, when he doesn't make it, women know what to say to men who come up a little short. After all, football is a game of inches. So that's just for women, give them that day and make them head coaches. Now, we can also get rid of Gay Pride Month. We don't need Gay Pride Month. We don't need a whole month to celebrate Gay Pride. Again, it's the whole month. By the time it's over with, people are tired of hearing about it. Give them one day and one drink or a sponsored alcoholic drink. So for that one day, let's see, maybe we celebrate it the first day of spring because that's when they're sprung. Am I using that? I'm using that correctly. Okay, and for their drinks, they can have artisanal beers. I think they're called IPAs. Which stands, I prefer anal. Now, back to Juneteenth. See, the reason why alcohol works as a universal bonding agent is because no matter how racist somebody is, no matter how sexist somebody is, no matter how homophobic somebody is, everybody loves their drinking buddy. Everybody loves the person they hang out with while they're drinking. And so that's why alcohol is the best bonding agent for all of us to get together. Forget Diversity Month, forget all the other months, just give us all drinking holidays, one day where we can all be together. And so on that one day, when we're celebrating Juneteenth, we can all park our cars in the Rosa Parks and ride, walk into the bar, we all get drunk together. For one day, we can all be Black together. And we don't have to worry about being pulled over because Muslims don't drink. On those days, they can be our designated drivers, and we can have a designated driver and have a Muslim for a friend as well. That's how I would solve racism: alcohol and designated drinking days for every group. Something unusual happened to me. A woman of whiteness asked to touch my hair. She asked to touch my hair. So I let her touch my hair, and she touched it and she stroked it. And then she looked at me and she goes, "How old are you?" And I told her, I said, "Well, I was born in 1959, but you can do the math. And if you can't, I'm 42. I like being 42. So she looks at my skin and she goes, "Black does not crack." I said, "Well, that's my skin, and that's on the outside." I said, "My bones are white, and they crack like a mother." As a matter of fact, if I had a better microphone, you'd hear those crackers right now, every time I'd move. So, and the reason why that was unusual is because it happened the other day, and it usually happens in February. So now, but last week, St. Patrick's Day was last week. St. Patrick's Day is kind of meaningful to me, along with Valentine's Day. And the reason being is because my sister used to call me my parents' second accident. They had 4 kids. And so I was the second accident, the second unplanned child. And that's what she used to call me. But the fact that St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day exist, that gives me a different perspective on it. See, the average gestation period for a human being is 280 days. If you take my birthday, when I was born, and you count back 280 days, I was conceived on St. Valentine's Day. If you take my sister's birthday, and you count back 280 days, she was conceived on St. Patrick's Day. So you have a young couple drinking, because that's what you do on St. Patrick's Day, a young drunk couple and their first child. I'm sorry, but that to me says accident. That is simple math romantic. Alcohol, young parents, first child, accident. Now my 2 brothers, they're both conceived in July. In Baltimore in the 1950s, without central air, in July, Baltimore is hot. Baltimore is been hot. And I know what it was like for my parents. My mother would say, leave me alone, it's hot. Get off me, it's hot. All right, hurry up, be quick. Quicker. Now, but for me, I was conceived on Valentine's Day. And in full disclosure, my parents were actually separated during that period of time. Something to do with, my father had a disease, dyslexia. His penis just kept wandering to the wrong, let's say, docking areas. It just got confused. So because of my father's dyslexia, my parents were separated. But my father went to visit my mother, obviously went to go visit my mother. And who is it? Elaine, come on, it's me, Ernest. What do you want? Come on, girl, Valentine's Day. So, come on, I brought you some candy and some magnolias. You probably stole those magnolias. What, me? Steal magnolias?
Oh, no.
Thank you. Oh no is the perfect response. Now, as a general rule of thumb, I do not do dick jokes. I have penis commentary with a humorous bent, usually to the left. So let me explain a little bit about men's plumbing real quick. See, when men are young, we are like municipal water. And it's reliable, convenient, strong stream, and you don't worry about waste. And you just let it spray all over the place, doesn't matter. There's more where that came from. Middle age, we're like well water. We can still get you wet, but it doesn't hit you as hard. Now, I'm at the age where I am like getting a bucket and getting water from a river. I can fill the tub, but it's just going to take a few trips.
Mhm.
Yeah. So. mm. Now, speaking of plumbing and wet, people without any kind of well, people often ask me why I don't have any kids of my own. Or at least people without common sense ask me why I don't have any kids of my own. And the reason I do not have any kids of my own, and I've raised kids, I've raised other kids, stepchildren, but I don't have any of my own seed out there. And the reason being is I'm lactose intolerant. Being a parent does not come with a manual. You have no idea what you're doing. And each child is like an experiment. It's a test, and you're just going about it, doing the best you can. And because of that, I'm sure I would make some mistakes. And if one of my kids would go missing, I wouldn't know. They would put their pictures on every milk carton in the country, and I wouldn't know because I'm lactose intolerant.
Mhm.
So that, and I believe in the curse. Some of you know the curse where your parents say, I want you to have kids just like you one day. And I know what kind of kid I was. I was a difficult child, not on purpose. Part of it was the fact that being the last child born and looking like a duck, I wasn't hideous, but my first words were probably Aflac. Being the last child, by the time my parents got to me or raising me, I didn't trust them. I never knew if my parents were lying or telling the truth. I just couldn't tell, because when we were growing up, we didn't have Google, we didn't have Siri, we didn't have smartphones. If you wanted to know something, you had to look it up. We had encyclopedias, and we kept our encyclopedias in the basement. So if I had a question for my mother, I'd say, Mom, what's sex? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay, I got it, okay. Be right back, let me check this out. I'm going to the basement, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. All right. Mom, one more question. What's a prostitute? Ask my father. Okay. Dad, what's a prostitute? Oh, I'm not touching that one. What did your mother say? Mom said, now you don't want to touch them. See, when parents are liars, if they're going to be, well, let's put it this way. I was the least fucked up of my brothers and sisters, the least fucked up of the litter of four, because my parents were, by the time they got to me, they couldn't agree on their lives. And I have to say litter of four because of my parent, well, what my father would call my mother when he got upset with me. And I know what you're thinking, but I don't condone any man calling his wife old yella. It doesn't matter how light her skin is. Yellow wives matter. So, but my parents couldn't agree on the kind of lies they were going to tell me. So that's why I'm not as fucked up. When parents agree on the lies, you can really screw a child up. So if the parents agree, you'll hear stories like the Frog Prince and the Princess, Princess Bride and the Swan, Ugly Duckling. But when your parents don't agree, that mom, what? How? Sorry, dad. Oh, yeah, dad. Yeah, dad. Where do babies come from? Well, son, when two people love each other very much, they touch. And if that touch is strong enough, in 9 months, the stork will bring a baby. Okay. Mom, where do babies come from? Well, if you're talking about the west side of Baltimore, they probably came from your father. Thanks. My parents just didn't agree. They were always arguing about whether dyslexia was nature or nurture. My father would tell me stories about the dad who should have pulled out, and my mom would tell me stories about the woman who should have swallowed. This I don't know how to phrase this, but I don't say, the way I usually ask is how many people out there have pets, but I don't know if I'll hear you. I can see hands. Okay, how many people out there have pets? I know you have a pet. I saw a cat. Okay, see, here's the deal. This pandemic, the scariest part about the whole thing is there is a wet pet food shortage. And to me, that's the scariest thing, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but 27 times a year, people are shot by their dogs accidentally. But cats don't shoot their owners. Now, my theory is that dogs shoot their owners because dogs are so close to people, they don't know how to hunt without guns. Cats, on the other hand, well, let's put it this way. Cats eat meat. Dogs eat meat. Cats eat meat. And cats are going to eat. And when you think about it, people are just meat. So cats will eat you in your sleep. I mean, they're not savages. They will smother you first. And so that's why the whole cat food shortage scares me, because we have cats. Now, we have some cat food in the cupboard, about a week's worth. But what we had about a week to find cat food for the cat. But our cats are very, very picky. We bought some little Friskies chicken chunks with gravy, and I mashed it up to try to make it look like their regular food. And I put it down, and the boy cat goes and walks away. So we give it to the other cat, the girl cat, Elsie. Now, Elsie is short for Lucky Cat Found in Woods. Her name is Lucky Cat Found in Woods. And when we found her in the woods, she was starving. She had been abused. She was close to death. She had infections. And she would eat anything that we'd give her when she was in the woods. We bring out scraps to her. But now that she's been in the house for a few years, she only eats Fancy Feast, chicken or turkey flavor, gravy lovers. That's all she'll eat. So we put down the little Friskies. Now, I tried to do for them what my mother did for me. When I was a kid, if I did not like something, my mother would tell me a story to try to get me to eat the food. But it turns out my cats do not give a shit about starving kittens in Africa. So, out of desperation, I turned to the streets to find some cat food. I'm going through alleys and back corners and back lots and vans, trying to find Fancy Feast, gravy lovers, chicken or turkey flavor cat food. And so I finally meet a guy in the corner, and I said, "Excuse me, I'm looking for some fancy feast, gravy lovers, chicken and turkey flavor. You got any? You a cop?"
Mhm.
"No, I'm not a cop." "Roll up your sleeves." There. "Okay, you've got cats. All right. I tell you what, I don't have any gravy lovers, but I could hook you up. Go around the corner, there's a giant eagle. Go to aisle 17. They've got all the fancy feast you want. Gravy lovers, chicken and turkey." "Thanks, man. I appreciate it." "No problem. Need any drugs?" "No, I'm good." "All right. Don't use my name in your sketch." "No problem, Thomas." Now, today my wife is leaving for Europe tomorrow. Party at my house. No, my wife is leaving for Europe tomorrow, so she had to have a COVID test. She got that done today, one of the rapid tests, and she's negative, which is good, right? Because she didn't study for the test. She just paid $200 and took it. But she's negative. Now, the best thing about that is, had she been positive, since I go out to clubs a lot to do comedy, no matter where she got it from, it would have been my fault. But since it's negative, I'm good, she's good. But 2 years ago, I was in the kitchen, I was cooking dinner. Just for the record, I'm a great husband. I was cooking dinner, and my wife walks in, and I could look at her eyes and tell there's something not right. And I said, "Baby, are you okay?" She goes, "I don't feel good. I feel like shit." And then she kissed me on the lips, as if to say, "If I go, you
You
go."
go.
So my wife, she goes to bed, and when she wakes up the next morning, she has a fever of 101, and she's achy all over, and she's sore, and she has these colored blotches. I'm sorry, African American blotches, and she's too sick to go to work, so she stays home. A week later, she's still sick. She's still not feeling well. She's not going to work. And at this point, her temperature is 103. And it's been a week. And so now I'm scared. I'm afraid to go to work because I'm afraid that when I came home, my wife, she might be alive, but she might be dead. And if my wife is dead when I get home, I know the cats will have started eating the soft part. Or just as bad, I'd come home and she's alive, but barely, because she was too weak to pull the cats off of her face when they were trying to smother her. So 2 weeks in, no change. She just, well, some change, but not for the better, for the worse. And I said to my wife, "Honey, we got to take you to the doctor." My wife says, "No, I'm good. I do not like going to the doctor. Don't worry about it. I'm tough." All right. Technically, my wife said I'm wicked tough. She's from Maine. So she tells me she's wicked tough. Don't worry about it. She's got this. But I'm scared. And so at this point, I'm still going to work and I'm smiling in public. When I come home, I'm in tears because I'm really worried about my wife. And I start making funeral arrangements for her. And my wife, her life has been spent over 3 states. She was born and raised in Maine, and that's where most of her family and friends still are. We've been married we've been together for 18 years, and most of the 18 years we spent in Maryland. And then we spent some of our life together in Florida. And that's where she wants to retire. So I have to have 3 funerals, 3 services for my wife. And the good thing is that she wants to be cremated. So all I have to do is drag her ash up and down the East Coast. And then when we get to Florida, put her in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's it. But 4 weeks later, my wife makes almost a complete recovery. Almost. The fever's gone. She's still a little achy. She still has the colored blotches, African American blotches. But she survived. She's doing great. And I'm relieved because aside from the fact that I didn't have to break in a new wife, I'm too old to be dating. Besides the fact that I don't have to break in a new wife, and I didn't have to have the funeral, I did not have to explain to the police why there's a dead white woman in my bed and she's not a hooker. You know, so that's weird. I think I missed something, and I don't know what I missed. Oh, I know what it is. Oh my gosh. See, this March is also an anniversary, March 7th. That explains why it felt weird to me. March 7th, 2019. I had to I was finally getting my knee replaced after 7 years of bone-on-bone action, not the good kind. I had tore my cartilage at work, but thanks to Liberty Mutual discuss for their client insurance company, I had to wait 7 years for an operation. So for 7 years, I was in pain with the bones in my knee just grinding on each other, constant pain. And because I drove for a living, I couldn't take opioids. So, well, I didn't want to take opioids. So I was just in pain all the time. And the pain got so bad that at one point I wanted to do the surgery myself. But I don't know if you know how hard it is to find parts for a 1959 black male, domestic, not foreign. It's a bitch. So my wife and I are in the waiting room at the hospital prior to my surgery. And the receptionist says to me, Mr. Fenderson, do you have a living will? And I said, no, I filled out a MOLST form, MOLST. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with it, MOLST is short for Medical Orders Life-Sustaining Treatment. And what that is, every state has one, and every state is a little bit different. In Maryland, the Medical Orders Life-Sustaining Treatment form has 10 questions. And the question basically is, this is the technique that's available. Do you want us to do this to save your life? So the first question is CPR, yay or nay? Second question, I said, okay, let me just save you all the trouble. Yes. Yes to all of them. If it's medically sound, yes. If it's medically unsound, yes. If it's a long shot, yes. If it's a short shot, yes. If it's a risky shot, yes. All of them, do them all. That's just save my ass. That's all you have to do is just save my ass. And so the receptionist goes, well, Mr. Fenderson, that's not what a living will is. A living will is instructions for your next of kin in the event that you cannot answer for yourself. And I said, oh, I don't have a living will. And my wife says, yes, you do. But then she leaves the reception area. And I did not fill out a living will, which means my wife did. And so now I have to wonder, do we have the same priorities of what's a medically necessary life-sustaining technique?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think about the last argument we had and who won that argument. But again, it doesn't matter because no matter who won the argument, she's about to have the last word. I'm gonna leave you with this little thing from my wife. My wife says to me that a good password for your computer is like a good penis. The longer it is and the harder it is, the more secure you feel. And I just thought that was going to be better received. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna keep going with things like that until I get a good laugh. So let's see here. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. My wife and I have been together for, like I say, 18 years. But she was married before, and I was married before. But to be honest, what happened before we got together, I don't care. I don't care who she dated. I don't care how many people she dated. None of my business. The only thing I want to know is if you take the penises and you lay them end to end, how long are they? And how many of my penises fit into it without a remainder? Because I want a nice whole number. Oh, come on. All right. Nothing. Okay. Last one. All right. Last one. This is my last attempt to go off on a bang. Let's see here. What have we got? Actually, I got too much. At least that's not, my wife doesn't think so, but I think I could have left with that. All right. Here we go.
Thank you.
This is my last attempt. All right, here we go. As a general rule of thumb, I'm aware that people, when they see me in public, they see me in a certain light or dark, and it matters to them what they see. But when I'm at peace, when I'm feeling at one, I don't feel my race, I don't feel my gender, I don't feel my anything. I'm just at one with the universe. And that place for me is as a pond with a bench and ducks. And that's my spot where I can go to and I can be at one with everything. And my life circumstances do not matter. So I was on my way to the park, and when I arrived, there's a kid sitting on the bench in my spot, and he's feeding my duck. So I walk up and I say hi, and the kid looks at me and he just laughed at me, and he says, "Quoi?" So his father says, "I'm sorry, that's my son Tobias. We're from Germany. We're visiting from Germany, and my son does not speak any any English." I said, "Oh, okay." But he laughed at me. See, I know very little German. I know Achtung, I know Schnell, I know Hogan, and I know nothing. That's the extent of the German that I actually know. But I learned another German word. I learned why the kid was laughing at me. I walked up to the kid and I said, "Hi," and he laughed, because hi is the German word for shark. So I walked up to that kid, I pointed to him and the ducks, and I said, "Shark." And he's thinking, no, duck, you're stupid. So why isn't a word like shark the same in every language? I mean, I do not want to be, for example, my wife is going to Europe tomorrow. She's leaving for Europe. I do not want my wife at the beach, standing out in the water, and some man walks by, some European man walks by, and he waves at my wife and says, "Hi." And my wife goes, "Hi." And the guy goes, "No, hi." And my wife goes, "Hi." He goes, "No, hi, hi, Schnell, Schnell." And my wife goes, "He thinks my name is Schnell." Thank you. I'm GD Fenderson. You can look for stillgdfunny.com. Hope you enjoyed yourself. And back to you, Geo.
Let's keep it going for GD. Thanks, everyone. Now, GD, I do have a problem with your whole alcohol solves racism, because alcohol and gun fanatics, not a good mix.
Well, it's a theory. It's a theory. It has to be tested.
Let me know after this is done. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the comics for their time and their jokes. We had a great time. Hope everybody enjoyed it. We would be doing this again in 2 weeks. That would be, what is today? The 22nd, I believe it is. So please come back and watch our show. And in the meantime, follow these comics on the social media. Follow us at Button Down Comedy, and we will see you soon. Please